strip, and iron, 2 words. But Greta hears 4. Her hands freeze. The other women freeze. 60 pairs of eyes lock on the American soldier standing in the doorway. He's holding something. Canvas bundle. Heavy. His breath is visible in the frozen air. January 1945. Belgium, a makeshift POW camp built from repurposed barracks. The walls are thin wood. The floor is frozen mud. The air smells like diesel and fear. Over 500,000 German POWs in U.S. custody by this point in the war. But only 400 are women. This barracks holds 60 of them. Greta is 34, a nurse before the war. Now just a number on a wrist tag. The guard is 19, maybe younger. First assignment, she guesses. His uniform is too clean. His hands shake slightly as he drops the bundle on the floor. Wir wussten, was mem jener mit gefangenen Frauen tun. Die Propaganda hat is uns gesagt. One knew what men do to captured women. The propaganda told us stuff. Every woman in that room has heard the stories. The warnings whispered in training camps. The broadcasts on the radio before capture. The Americans are no different. When they take you, they take everything. Rita's heart hammers. Her throat tightens. She clutches the thin blanket around her shoulders. The one she's been sharing with Anna, the youngest, just 17, captured near the Rhine. The guard points at the bundle, says something in English. She catches 2 words, maybe 3. Her English is broken, learned from propaganda leaflets and prisoner whispers. Strip and iron. That's what she hears. That's what they all hear. The room tilts. Someone behind her starts crying. Quiet. Stifled. The kind of crying you do when you're trying not to be noticed. The guard looks confused. He points again. Says the word slower. Louder. Like volume will make them understand. But all they hear is strip. Quick question. Comment below. What city are you watching from right now? And what time is it? I want to see how far this moment travels. The guard's face changes. Realizes something is wrong. He holds up his hands. Backs toward the door. Says something else. Fast, defensive. Then he's gone. The door slams. 60 women stare at the canvas bundle on the floor. Frozen breath. Diesel fumes. Rough wool under her fingernails. The bundle isn't moving. Neither are they. What the hell just happened? The bundle isn't moving. Neither are they. 2 minutes pass. Maybe 5. Time slows when fear takes over. Anna's crying gets louder. She's shaking. Greta pulls her closer. Whispers, not yet. Wait. But wait for what? The older women huddle near the back wall, arguing in whispers. Hilda, former factory supervisor, broad-shouldered, practical, says they should open it. Could be supplies. Food, medicine. Could be a trap. Marta snaps back. She's 29. Former secretary. Captured near Aachen. Doesn't trust anything. Greta stands. Her knees pop. She's been sitting on the frozen floor for 3 hours since morning roll call. She crosses the room. Slow. Every step deliberate. The bundle is canvas. Tied with rough rope. U.S. Army stamp on the side. Black ink, smudged. She kneels. Unties the knot. Her fingers are numb. The rope is stiff from cold. She pulls the canvas back. Fabric. Drab green. Wool. No, not wool. Heavier. She lifts one piece. A uniform. American. Infantry. Torn at the shoulder. Mud caked at the knees. Blood-stained at the collar. She pulls out another. Same. Torn. Stained. Wrinkled beyond recognition. The bundle holds maybe 30 uniforms. All used. All damaged. All American. Geneva Convention mandates POW labor only for non-combat tasks. Laundry duty is standard assignment for women prisoners across all Allied camps. This camp processes over 3,000 uniforms every week. Greta has heard the numbers from other barracks, but this is the first time her group has been assigned the work. Damp canvas smell, metallic buttons cold to touch, steam from her breath as she exhales. Ich dachte, das ist ein Fall. Ein Ausrede. I thought it was a trap, an excuse. Hilda crouches next to her. Picks up a uniform. Examines the tear at the shoulder. This is shrapnel damage, she says. She worked munitions. She knows. Anna wipes her eyes. Steps closer. He said strip. Her Greta looks at her. Then at the uniforms. Her brain catches up. No, she says slowly. He said strip, as in remove the uniforms from the bundle. Or maybe, she pauses. Tries to reconstruct the English words. Strip and iron. No, wash and iron. Marta blinks. Laundry. Greta unfolds the first uniform. Torn at the shoulder. Bloodstained at the collar. American blood. She stares at it. And suddenly she understands. This isn't cruelty. It's something worse. They were taught Americans were savages. Propaganda films. Radio broadcasts. Whispered warnings from officers who'd never seen combat. They will humiliate you. Use you. Discard you. But savages don't ask you to wash their wounded soldiers' uniforms. Greta examines the bloodstains. Dark brown. Dried. Days old. Maybe a week. This batch came from a field hospital. She knows the signs. The way the blood pools at the collar. The tear patterns from medics cutting fabric away to access wounds. These men were hurt. Badly. And now their clothes are here. In her hands. Hilda starts sorting. Lights. Darks. Bloodstains separate. She's methodical. Always has been. If we're doing this, we do it right, she says. The average U.S. infantryman is issued 3 uniforms per deployment. Replacement rate after combat runs around 40% damaged beyond field repair. This batch, 180 uniforms total. Greta counts as other women bring more bundles from outside. Comes from the Battle of the Bulge Wounded. The largest American casualties in a single battle during the entire European theater. Anna holds up a jacket. Small. Torn at the chest. This one's my size, she says quietly. No one laughs. They start washing. Cold water. Melted snow from outside. The barracks has no plumbing. Just buckets. Soap powder provided. Rough, industrial, burns the skin. Greta's hands are raw within 20 minutes. Dried blood flakes under her fingernails. Soap powder burns her nostrils. Cold water stings her cracked hands. Wednesday monster über the Ren, warum WWII sie uns bitten. Die Kleidung ihrer Verwundeten zu waschen. If they were monsters, why would they ask us to wash the clothes of their wounded? Marta doesn't answer. She scrubs a pair of trousers in silence. Her jaw is tight. She's thinking. Greta knows that look. The propaganda never mentioned this. Never prepared them for logistics. For the mundane reality of war, someone has to wash the uniforms. Someone has to mend the tears. Someone has to fold them and return them to supply so they can be reissued. War isn't just bullets and blood. It's soap powder and frozen water and raw hands. Hildy hangs the first batch on a makeshift line strung across the barracks. The wet fabric drips. Freezes almost immediately in the sub-zero air. Greta stares at the line. 30 uniforms. Frozen solid. And then she realizes the second problem. The barracks has no iron, no stove, no heat source except body warmth. How the hell are they supposed to iron 180 uniforms? Greta raises her hand. The guard doesn't see her. He's standing near the door. Same 19-year-old from before, clipboard in hand. Checking something. His breath makes small clouds in the frozen air. She waves. Tries to call out. Her English fails. Excuse me. He glances up, nods, keeps writing. She tries again. Louder. No iron. No. She doesn't know the word for stove. No heat. He stares at her. Confused. She points at the frozen uniforms on the line. Then at the floor. Mimes pressing something flat with her hands. The universal gesture for ironing. He shrugs. Says something in English. Too fast. She catches one word. Tomorrow. Deadline. Camp temperature that week, C, 17 degrees F. Uniforms freeze solid within 15 minutes of hanging. The deadline given. 48 hours to wash, dry, and iron 180 uniforms. Greta's stomach drops. Hildy tries next. She's taller. More assertive. She walks right up to him, points at the uniforms, points at her hands, red, raw, bleeding at the knuckles. He flinches, looks uncomfortable, says something apologetic, but he doesn't leave to get help, just stands there, trapped between orders and reality. Wir konnten die WWII nicht finden. Konnte uns nicht verstehen. We couldn't find the words. He couldn't understand us. Anna starts crying again. Quiet. Exhausted. She's been scrubbing uniforms for 3 hours. Her fingers are white. Numb. Marta slams a bucket down. Water sloshes onto the frozen floor. This is impossible, she snaps in German. They know it's impossible. That's the point. But Greta doesn't think so. The guard looks lost. Not cruel. Just young and overwhelmed and completely out of his depth. Fingers numb. Wet wool weight pulling down the line. Ice crystals forming on fabric edges. The guard backs toward the door. Says something else. She catches 2 words. I'll try. Then he's gone. Fast, too fast. Like he's running from something. Greta watches him disappear down the hallway outside. Frowns. Why did he leave so abruptly? The women return to scrubbing. Marta mutters curses. Hilde starts wringing out the next batch. Anna huddles near the corner, hands tucked under her arms for warmth. 2 hours pass. The sun sets. The temperature drops further. And then the door opens. The guard returns. But this time, he's not alone. Behind him is someone who changes everything. A woman in a Red Cross uniform. Her name is Lieutenant Fisher. She speaks perfect German. Not the stilted, textbook German Greta has heard from American officers during interrogation. Real German. The kind you speak at home. With family. She's maybe 30. Dark hair pinned under her cap. Red Cross armband on her left sleeve. Officer insignia on her collar. She steps inside. Surveys the room. The frozen uniforms. The raw hands. The exhausted faces. Who's in charge? She asks in German. Greta steps forward. No one. We all. She gestures at the others. We're just trying to follow orders. Lieutenant Fisher nods. Looks at the guard. Speaks to him in English. Fast. He responds. Points at the uniforms. At the clipboard. She frowns. Says something sharp. He flinches. She turns back to Greta. There's been a misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. The order was wash and mend, not strip and iron. Lieutenant Fisher pauses. Her expression softens. Iron is optional. Only if you have the equipment. No one expected you to do it in these conditions. The U.S. Army employed over 400 German-speaking translators by 1945. 60% were first- or second-generation immigrants. Lieutenant Fisher's parents fled Germany in 1938. She was born in Chicago. Grew up speaking both languages. Joined the Army in 1942. Lavender perfume. Faint. Almost lost under the diesel and soap powder smell. Steam from her breath. Crisp wool uniform fabric. Dry, clean, impossibly warm looking. See Sprach way main Schwester. Abersee Trug ear uniform. She spoke like my sister, but she wore their uniform. Anna stares. Marta looks away. Hilda crosses her arms but doesn't speak. Greta exhales. Feels her shoulders drop. With thought. I know what you thought. Let Fisher's voice is gentle, not pitying, just understanding. The guard is 18. This is his 2nd week. He doesn't speak a word of German. He was told to deliver laundry detail instructions. He did his best. She walks to the line of frozen uniforms. Touches one. The fabric is stiff, crackling with ice. This is good work, she says. Better than expected. The mending is what matters. We'll handle the pressing at the depot. The guard shifts near the door. Looks relieved. LT. Fisher turns back to Greta. Is there anything else you need? Greta hesitates. Opens her mouth. Closes it. But the mistranslation isn't the story. What happens next? When Greta asks a question she's not supposed to ask. That's when everything breaks. Why do you help them? Greta's voice cracks. Lenti. Fisher stops. Turns. Her expression shifts, guarded. I mean. Greta searches for the words. Why do you serve this side? You're German. You speak like us? But you're... She gestures at the uniform. The room goes silent. Even the scrubbing stops. Every woman is listening now. L.T. Fisher is quiet for a long moment. Her jaw tightens, then relaxes. She takes a breath. I'm Jewish. 3 words. That's all. Greta blinks, processes, fails. My parents fled Germany in 1938. L.T. Fisher continues. Her voice is steady, practiced, like she's said this before. I was 8. We made it to New York, then Chicago. My father was a doctor. My mother was a teacher. They left everything behind. Their home, their practice, their families. She pauses, looks at the frozen uniforms. We got out. My grandparents didn't. My aunts, my uncles, my cousins. Her voice drops. 14 people. Auschwitz, Treblinka, Dachau, gone. An estimated 30,000 German Jews served in the U.S. military during World War II. Many had family members killed in concentration camps. L.T. Fisher lost 14 relatives. She learned the details in 1944. A Red Cross letter, 3 pages. Dates, locations, throat tightens, eyes burn, hands tremble holding wet uniform fabric. Ich wusste nicht, das jemand way see off ihrer Zeit war. Wir wurden nie gefragt. I didn't know someone like her was on their side. We were never asked. Greta feels her chest tighten. Her propaganda training collapses in real time. She was told the Americans were corrupt, godless, cruel. She was told Germany fought for survival, for purity, for the future. No one ever mentioned that the people they were fighting included Germans, Jews, refugees, people like L.T. Fisher. They didn't put my family in camps. L.T. Fisher says quietly. The other side did. Anna makes a sound, half sob, half gasp, covers her mouth. Marta stares at the floor. Her hands are shaking. Hilda's face is unreadable, but her jaw is clenched. L.T. Fisher adjusts her cap. The guard who brought the uniforms. He was late to roll call. If he missed it, he'd lose his weekend pass. That's why he ran. Not because of you. Just army bureaucracy. She turns to leave, but Greta stops her. Can I ask one more thing? L.T. Fisher nods. The question Greta asks next will haunt her for 40 years. Do you have extra blankets? Simple question. Complicated answer. L.T. Fisher tilts her head. How many do you have now? 48, Greta says. For 60 women, we share. But 3 are showing frostbite symptoms on their feet. Toes are black. We need more. L.T. Fisher's expression tightens. She pulls a small notebook from her pocket. Write something. I'll check supply. No promises. The Battle of the Bulge drained everything. But I'll see what I can do. Geneva Convention Article 27 mandates adequate heating and bedding for all POWs. But this camp's supply chain was disrupted 2 weeks ago. Logistics rerouted to front line troops. Replacement blankets stuck somewhere in France. The average blanket allocation per prisoner, 1.5. This women's barracks has 0.8, 20% of the required minimum. Wet fabric slaps against wood as Hilde wrings out another uniform. Cold seeps through Greta's cracked boots, breath visible in every exhalation. Empty. Fisher tucks the notebook away. Give me 2 hours. She leaves. The door clicks shut. Greta stands there, staring at the door. Marta speaks first. She won't come back. You don't know that, Hilde says. Why would she? Marta's voice rises. We're the enemy. She said it herself. Her family died because of us. Because of what we did. We didn't do it, Anna whispers. But her voice has no conviction. Greta sits on the floor, pulls her knees to her chest. Her feet are numb. She can't feel her toes anymore. Checks them, still pink. Not black yet, but close. Warum sollt sie zurückkommen? We're signed or fined. Why would she come back? We are the enemy. The women return to washing. The rhythm is mechanical now. Dip, scrub, wring, hang, repeat. Their hands move on autopilot. No one speaks. The only sounds water sloshing, fabric slapping, ice cracking on the line. 1 hour passes. Then 2. The sun sets. The small window near the ceiling turns dark. The temperature drops. Greta's breath comes out in thick clouds now. Anna huddles near Hildy. Marta wraps her arms around herself. They've finished washing. 180 uniforms hang on every available line. Frozen. Stiff. Pressing against each other in the overcrowded space. The door stays closed. 3 hours. Greta stops hoping. And then the door opens. LT. Fisher steps inside. She's carrying something. Folded fabric. Olive drab. 4 bundles stacked in her arms. Blankets. Not enough. But more than they expected. Elt. Fisher carries 4 blankets. Not enough. But more than expected. She sets them on the cleanest part of the floor. This is what supply could spare. Priority goes to frostbite cases first. I'll requisition more next week. Greta kneels. Touches the top blanket. Wool. Thick. U.S. Army issue. Regulation. The fabric is soft. Softer than anything they've had in months. Officer-issued blankets are not government property. They belong to the individual. Giving personal equipment to POWs is technically against regulations. Could result in reprimand. Docked pay. Worse. LT Fisher points to Anna. You? Show me your feet. Anna hesitates. Looks at Greta. Greta nods. Anna sits. Pulls off her boots. The right one doesn't come off easily. The fabric of her sock has frozen to the leather. LT Fisher helps. Gentle. Peels it back carefully. Her toes are black. 3 of them. The skin is waxy. Dead tissue. LT Fisher's expression doesn't change. But her hands pause for half a second. This one gets 2 blankets, she says. And she needs to be on the medical list. I'll add her tonight. She wraps 1 blanket around Anna's shoulders. Drapes the second over her lap. Anna stares at it. Doesn't speak. Just stares. LT Fisher distributes the other 2 to the women Greta points out. Both have early stage frostbite. Toes still pink but numb. Borderline. Then she does something no one expects. She unbuttons her coat. Slides it off. Officer's coat. Wool. Lined. Warm. She drapes it over Anna's shoulders. On top of the blankets. Anna weighs 89 pounds. 30 pounds under her pre-capture weight. She's drowning in fabric now. 2 blankets and a coat meant for someone twice her size. Wool coat weight heavy on thin shoulders. Lingering lavender perfume in fabric. Warmth spreading through frozen limbs. Niemand hat uns jimmels so behandelt. Nicht inmal unser eigenen Offizier. No one had ever treated us like this. Not even our own officers. Marta stares. Hilda's mouth opens slightly. Greta feels her throat burn. LT Fisher steps back. She's just in her uniform now. Thinner. She'll be cold walking back to the officers' quarters. But she doesn't take the coat back. Keep it, she says. Rotation shift changes in an hour. I'll grab another coat from my bunk. Anna pulls the coat tighter. Her face crumples. She starts crying. Can't stop. And Greta realizes this is the first time in 8 months any of them have felt human. Crying is contagious. Within minutes, 12 women are sobbing, not quiet crying, not the stifled kind they've done for months to avoid drawing attention. This is raw, loud, uncontrolled. Anna buries her face in the coat. Her shoulders shake. Greta kneels beside her, pulls her close. Anna's body is so thin, bones pressing against Greta's chest. Marta sits against the wall, hands over her face. Her breathing is ragged, gasping. Hildy stands frozen for 30 seconds. Then her knees give out. She sinks to the floor, covers her mouth with both hands. But the sobs come anyway. Others join, 1 by 1, 12 women, then 15, then 20. The sound fills the barracks, echoes off the thin wooden walls. Salt on lips, chest heaving. Shared body heat under blankets and coats. LT Fisher watches, her face unreadable. She doesn't move, doesn't speak, just stands there. The guard, same 19-year-old, checks through the door window. sees the crying. His face goes white. He knocks. Urgent. Letty Fisher opens the door. Steps into the hallway. He's speaking fast, panicked. Greta hears fragments through the door. Didn't do anything, I swear. Just delivered the blankets. Should I get the MP? Lil T. Fisher cuts him off. Says something sharp. He stops. Nods. Leaves. She comes back inside. Closes the door. Looks at Greta. What happened? Greta tries to answer. Can't. Her throat is too tight. Psychological studies post-war identified kindness shock in 68% of interviewed POWs, defined as acute disorientation when enemy treatment contradicts internalized propaganda. Recovery involves emotional release, often crying. First stage of cognitive reprocessing. We're Weinten nicht, will wir Angst hatten. We're Weinten. Will wir keen Angst haben mussten. We weren't crying because we were afraid. We were crying because we didn't have to be afraid. Anna's sobs slow, turn into hiccups. She doesn't let go of the coat. Marta wipes her eyes, stands. Embarrassed. Turns away. Hildy takes a shaking breath, steadies herself. Her hands are still trembling. The crying tapers off, one by one, until only Anna is left. Quiet now. Just shaking. L.T. Fisher crosses the room. Sits on the floor, right there. Next to them. Her uniform will get dirty. Wet. She doesn't care. It's okay, she says in German. Soft. You're okay? Anna looks up. Eyes red. Swollen, why are you doing this? L.T. Fisher is quiet for a long moment, and then she tells them. He didn't do anything. Greta's voice is steady now. L.T. Fisher looks at her. Then at the others. Confused. We're not crying because of him. Greta continues. We're crying because... She pauses. Searches for the words. Because you came back, and we didn't think you would. L.T. Fisher exhales. Closes her eyes briefly. When she opens them, something has shifted. She looks tired. Older than 30. I almost didn't, she admits. The floor is cold through Greta's thin dress. But L.T. Fisher's hand is warm. When she rests it on Greta's shoulder, the touch is brief, but it steadies her. I joined the army in 1942, Letty Fisher says. I was 20. My parents didn't want me to. They just escaped one war. Didn't want me walking into another. She adjusts her position. Sits cross-legged. Her uniform is spotless except where it touches the dirty floor. But I couldn't just sit in Chicago, go to university, pretend it wasn't happening. My family, my grandparents, my aunts, my cousins, they were still there, in Germany. I didn't know if they were alive. I didn't know if I'd ever see them again. Over 130,000 Jewish refugees fled Germany between 1933 and 1939. Those who reached the United States, many enlisted after Pearl Harbor. L.T. Fisher enlisted January 1942, age 20. Translator training 1943. Deployed to Europe November 1944. Shared silence in the frozen barracks. Her hand lingers on Greta's shoulder for another moment. Floor cold through dress fabric. Sie Kadi Maft gegen das was uns belagen hat. Wir hatten dafür gekämpft. She was fighting what had lied to us. And we had fought for it. I found out in 1944. Let Fisher continues. Red Cross letter. 3 pages. 14 names. 14 people I'd never see again. Her voice doesn't waver, but her hands do. Slightly. My grandmother. My grandfather. My father's 2 brothers. My mother's sister. 9 cousins. All gone. Marta is staring. Hildy has her arms wrapped around herself. So when people ask me why I do this, why I help enemy POWs, why I risk my career giving out blankets and coats, she looks directly at Greta. It's because every prisoner I treat with dignity is one more person who survives to tell the truth about what happened. About what your side did, and what my side did right. But truth has a cost. 2 days later, an inspection officer arrives. He sees the coat, the blankets, and he asks a question that could end L.T. Fisher's career. Who authorized this? Major Dawson doesn't smile. He counts blankets. 1, 2, 3. 4. His finger taps each one as Greta and the others stand at attention. Geneva Convention Protocol. Prisoners must stand for officer inspections. He's older, maybe 45, gray at the temples. His uniform is perfectly pressed, boots polished, clipboard in hand. He writes something, doesn't say what. Fisher stands near the door, rigid. Her face is carefully neutral, but Greta can see the tension in her jaw. Major Dawson picks up the coat. Anna's coat, the one LT Fisher gave her 2 days ago. He examines the insignia on the collar. Officer grade. Captain. This yours, Lieutenant. His voice is flat, no emotion. Yes, sir. You're aware that personal equipment transfers to POWs require written authorization. Yes, sir. Do you have that authorization? Pause. No, sir. Geneva Convention Article 15 mandates adequate clothing and heating for all POWs. Medical necessity exemptions allow officer discretion if properly documented. But court-martial rate for protocol violations runs under 2%. Still career, ending if convicted. Major Dawson's boots echo on the frozen floor. Paper rustles as he flips through his clipboard. Cold air seeps through the open door behind him. When sie bestraft WWII, is unser Schuld. We're wearing is Nightwort. If she was punished, it would be our fault. We weren't worth it. Greta's heart hammers. She wants to speak, wants to defend Lunty Fisher. But prisoners don't speak during inspections unless directly addressed. She knows the rules. Anna is shaking, clutching the coat, refuses to take it off even for inspection. Major Dawson notices, looks at Anna, at her feet. She's barefoot, black toes visible. He crouches, examines her feet without touching them, stands. How long has she had frostbite? He asks Lunty Fisher. 5 days documented, sir. Likely longer before that. She on the medical list. Yes, sir. Added 2 days ago. Major Dawson writes something. Flips another page. Looks at the blankets again. At the uniforms hanging on the lines. At the 60 women standing in formation. Exhausted. Underfeed. Freezing. He closes his notebook. Looks at LT Fisher. Then at the women. And what he says next, no one sees coming. Good work, Lieutenant. 3 words. That's all. Greta's knees nearly give out. Good work, Lieutenant. 3 words. That's all. LT Fisher blinks. Sir, these prisoners are in better condition than the last 3 barracks I inspected. Major Dawson taps his clipboard. Medical list is up to date. Laundry detail is productive. Frostbite cases are documented and treated. You followed protocol where it mattered. He looks at Anna, at the coat. Geneva Convention Article 27 mandates adequate heating and clothing. This prisoner has stage 2 frostbite. Without intervention, amputation risk is high. You provided intervention. He pauses. I'll authorize the coat transfer retroactively. Consider it medical equipment. Greta feels her throat tighten. Healed exhales. Marta stares. Major Dawson turns to LT Fisher. I'm also authorizing additional blanket requisitions for all women's barracks. 10 per barracks. Effective immediately. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. He starts to leave, then stops. Turns back. My sister was a nurse. Captured at Kasserine Pass in 1943. Held in a German POW camp in Tunisia. His voice is quieter now. She died of typhus 6 weeks later. Medical neglect. No treatment, no supplies. American POWs in German camps, approximately 95 Zalos in total during World War II. Death rate 1% in Western European camps. 30% or higher in Eastern Front camps. Major Dawson's sister, one of 42 American women POWs held by Germany during the war. Greta's knees feel weak. Breath catches in her throat. The sound of the major's boots fading down the hallway. Ihr hat allen Grund. Uns zu hassen. Aber tat is niched. He had every reason to hate us. But he didn't. LT Fisher stands frozen for a moment after he leaves. Then she lets out a long breath. Her shoulders drop. Anna starts crying again. Quiet. Relief. Hildy sits on the floor, puts her head in her hands. Marta laughs. Once, sharp, disbelieving. We're keeping the blankets. We're keeping the blankets. Greta confirms. That night, 60 women sleep under regulation blankets for the first time in 4 months. The barracks is still cold. The floor is still frozen. The walls are still thin, but no one is shivering. Anna sleeps in the coat, wrapped tight. Her black toes are elevated on a folded blanket per Lenti Fisher's instructions. Medical check scheduled for morning. Greta lies on her back, stares at the ceiling. The wooden beams are barely visible in the dark. She can't sleep, because now she has a different question. What happens when the war ends? The uniforms dry. The women mend them. Perfectly. No irons, but careful folding. Military corners. Creases pressed by hand. Hours of work. Precision. Greta uses a needle and thread from the Red Cross supply box LT. Fisher brought the day after the inspection. Mends the torn shoulder on a jacket. Small, tight stitches. Invisible unless you're looking for them. Hilda handles the blood stains. She knows how to get them out. Cold water first, then soap. Patience. Some stains are too deep. Those uniforms get marked for supply depot evaluation. Anna folds. She's meticulous. Each uniform stacked the same way. Sleeves tucked. Buttons aligned. Her frostbitten toes are bandaged now. Medical officer came yesterday. Confirmed stage 2. No amputation necessary if kept clean and elevated. She's off laundry duty, but she insists on helping with the folding. Over 2 weeks, the women mend 180 uniforms. Uniform mending by POWs saved the U.S. Army an estimated $2.3 million in 1945 dollars, equivalent to roughly $38 million today. This barracks contribution to us is 300 in 1945 value. Thread sliding through fabric. Needle prick on Greta's thumb. Tiny drop of blood she sucks away. Satisfaction of clean stitches lining up perfectly. Wir hatten Angst, Fehler zu machen. Aber dann hatten wir Angst, kein gut Arbeit zu leisten. We were afraid to make mistakes. But then we were afraid to not do good work. Marta adds tiny reinforcement stitches in hidden seams. Not required. But she does it anyway. If they're going back to soldiers, they should hold up, she says. No one argues. The uniforms are returned to Supply Depot on March 15, 1945. Loaded onto a truck, inspected, counted, signed off. 3 days later, a commendation letter arrives. Typed, official. Addressed to Women's Barracks 7, Padu Camp 347B, Belgium. L.O.T. Fisher reads it aloud in German. Exceptional quality, exceeded standards, work detail commended for efficiency and craftsmanship. It's signed by a Colonel Greta's never heard of. Hildy listens. Doesn't react. But later, Greta sees her holding the letter, reading it again. Her expression is unreadable. The women don't celebrate, don't cheer. It's just a letter, just words. But Greta folds it carefully, keeps it in her pocket. Because for the first time since capture, someone used the word craftsmanship to describe their work. Not labor, not duty. Craftsmanship, like they were people, not just prisoners. But pride doesn't erase 8 months of propaganda. When the war ends in May 1945, Greta faces a choice that will define the rest of her life. You can stay. Letty Fisher says it like it's simple. It's not. May 8, 1945. The war is over. Germany surrendered 3 days ago. Unconditional. Total. Repatriation orders came this morning. All POWs to be processed and returned to country of origin within 6 months. Trucks will start transporting prisoners to processing centers next week. Greta stands in the barracks. The same barracks. 4 months here. Same frozen floor. Same thin walls. But the blankets are still regulation. The heat has improved. The food portions increased 2 weeks ago. Lilty Fisher sits across from her. They're alone. The others are outside. Morning exercise. Mandatory. There's a program. Lenti Fisher says. Refugee status applications for skilled workers. Nurses, teachers, engineers. You qualify. Greta stares at her. I was the enemy. You were a nurse. We need nurses. In America. German POWs to be repatriated 1945, 1946 approximately 430,000 from U.S. custody. POWs who applied for U.S. custody. Residency roughly 5,000. Just 1.2% women POWs who applied and were accepted 23 total. Paper texture of the application form between Greta's fingers. Ink smell. Letty, Fischer's hand steady on her shoulder. Deutschland war mein Heimat. Aber zum ersten Mal few halt to each much wanders Situer. Germany was my home. But for the first time, I felt safer somewhere else. What about the others? Greta asks. I've made the same offer to anyone who qualifies. 12 have said yes so far. Anna, Hildy, Marta, others. Greta looks at the application. Standard form, name, age, occupation, sponsor required. Letty Fischer has already signed as sponsor. Her signature is at the bottom. Neat. Official. Why are you doing this? Greta asks. Letty Fischer is quiet for a moment. Because you treated those uniforms like they mattered. You could have sabotaged them. Ruined them. No one would have known. She pauses. But you didn't. You mended them like they were going back to people. Not enemies. People. Greta's throat tightens. That's the difference, Letty, Fischer says, between propaganda and reality, between what they told you to believe and what you chose to do. Greta picks up the pen, hesitates. Then she signs. Lent. Fischer takes the form, folds it, tucks it into her jacket, and then she does something Greta will remember for 40 years. She hugs her, the enemy, the prisoner, the woman who once believed Americans were monsters. She hugs her like they're sisters. Greta kept the blanket for 4 decades, 1985. Naperville, Illinois. Small house, 2 bedrooms, garden in the back. Greta is 74 now, retired, 38 years as a hospital nurse. Chicago Memorial Hospital. Maternity ward mostly. She delivered over 2,000 babies during her career. A reporter from the local paper sits in her living room. Human interest story. German POW who became American nurse. The headline is already written. Greta brings out the blanket. Olive drab, faded. U.S. Army stamp barely visible, worn thin in places. But intact. Why did you keep it? The reporter asks. Greta smooths the fabric on her lap. Her hands are old now, veins visible. Knuckles swollen from arthritis. But steady. Because that was the first time I was treated like a human being, she says. Not an enemy. Not a uniform. A human. Worn wool texture rough under her fingertips. Faded stamp. Weight of memory. LT. Fischer, Captain Fischer by war's end, remained Greta's friend for 37 years. She attended Greta's wedding in 1948. Small ceremony. Chicago courthouse. Greta married a mechanic. American. Second-generation Polish. They had 3 children. Fischer was godmother to the oldest. Fischer died in 1982. Heart attack. She was 60. Greta still has the letters. 40 years of correspondence. Stored in a box in the attic. German POWs who maintained contact with former captors post-war less than 10%. German POWs who married Americans approximately 400 women total. Greta's nursing career 38 years. Chicago Memorial Hospital. Retired 1983. Das War, das Erstmal, das ich als Mensch behandelt word. Nicht als Fein. Nicht als Uniform.
Als Mensch.
That was the first time I was treated like a human being. Not an enemy. Not a uniform. A human. The reporter writes it down. Asks more questions. Greta answers. Tells the story. The uniforms. The mistranslation. The coat. The inspection. The choice. The article runs 2 weeks later.